Okay. Yeah. So hello everyone. Today we'll be talking about how we use Firebase in our applications. If you don't know what Firebase is, it's an app development platform. Yeah, before we're gonna start quickly about me, so I'm a software developer for almost 12 years. Mostly I was working with C++ and Objective-C at the time. I'm a big fan of cross-platform code, and currently as a head of research and development in CC Games, I'm making games and I'm focusing on bringing all those good manners from programming to Unity 3D. Okay, so yeah, Firebase, amazing technology. You should definitely use it. Joke aside, if you open Firebase, on the right side, basically on the left side on your screen, but here is on the right side, you will see those 4 sections. So our agenda will be also split into those 4 sections. So first we'll talk why Firebase, then how you can use it to build your application, how to use it to release and monitor, then to how to use to analyze it, and how can you use Firebase to engage your users. So why did we choose Firebase? Because it's very easy to integrate. As I said before, we are using Unity, so if you use Unity, it's just a matter of installing the plugin and writing like 4 or 5 lines of code, and you're basically up to go, and you can start using Firebase. And because it's free, and free I mean if you're a small company and you really need to start competing with other companies, you can start with a free plan. And of course, as you scale, develop, become more, need more data and storage and so on, you can go with pay as you go. And on the right bottom side, you can see those are roughly monthly measurements from our company. Of course, there are multiple applications, so it's more or less, take it or no, $1,400 to $1,500 per month, only Firebase part, and with additional Google services about $4K US. If it's a lot, it depends. We are a 30-person company and we have several applications. So yeah, if you are successful, it should be a really good price to pay for what we are using. And we're using a lot of those services. And it works great with continuous integration. I am a very big fan of continuous integration. I love to automate everything. Everything has to be green and everything has to be automated, so I don't have to do much of my work because, as many of us know, programmers are not cheap, and it's very hard to get new programmers, so their time is very, yeah, it's hard to get good programmers, so we have to automate as much as we can, so I can focus on more important things. And we are not only making mobile games, we also did some VR and Switch games, and unfortunately, there is no Firebase there yet. I hope it will come soon, and we can feel the difference with how we develop those applications versus the mobile applications. Okay, so we are starting to build our application, and first thing we want to use is Firebase authentication. And this is a pretty neat feature because most of the time when you build your application, you probably need to create an account to log into the online or something like that. So you need an email and you need some information from the users, and they will always ask why. And at the time you explain them why you need those information, they're gone. So Firebase make this pretty cool feature which is called anonymous login, which allow you to basically create an anonymous account that will automatically connect with the Firebase and somehow connect this user with all those services. So you can, for example, create, and most of our games work like that. So I'm starting the online game. As you can see, the profile is created automatically. It will generate some random avatar, add some random name, and I can as I start, I can do some kind of the onboarding and start a real multiplayer game without actually too much of the user effort. And this is really, really good because you are very easily winning the user attention. Yeah, because if they want to start and you want to focus on this kind of features, you will probably lose them if you have to force them to create a typical account. Next thing, close functions. So, okay, we have the game, we logged, but we need some kind of API to actually handle all of that. And yeah, and we are using a lot of cloud functions. It's like, you can see it's invocation per second. So if your application is very, if you really win the market and it's a good application, you will probably hit a lot of calls. And it's very easy to implement on the cloud functions. And if your game is a success, and you can see here that we have like a lot of invocations to that API, you're in a deep shit if you cannot scale. And Firebase actually scales really, really well with that. So you can, you know, this is the matter of if you want to get a phone call 2 a.m. in the morning that something is not working. And if you have Firebase, close functions, no worries. So we have this API, everything is working. Now we have to store it somewhere. And this is the Firebase Firestore, which helps. It's a typical database. Maybe not typical because it's very easy to scale. But in this example, you can see those anonymous users which we connect. And we, for example, use that feature to collect history of the games of the users. And why we do that? We do it because, for example, if we have our customer success, or you can call it the support team, people who wants to, for example, get the answer why I lose or why the game was not a draw, we can actually copy this, paste into our application and analyze step by step what happened on the board. And for example, me as a developer, it's very easy and very fast to just copy-paste that string into my application, run it, find the moment that user was referring to, because we have this email from the application that our support can come to us and ask things. And yeah, we can, for example, tell them that in chess there is something that is called stalemate, and user can do that, and then it's a throw because the knight of the opposing side cannot make any more moves. Yeah, but this is how we can explain that to users and make a screenshot of what they did and explain them, because we can store all those data in the Firebase. Next thing, so we build our application, it's working, we have a working database, we have a working API. Now we have to release and monitor this application. And the first feature that you want to use, and you really want to use this feature, is Crashalytics, because, for example, yeah, we are not perfect. We have like 95% of crash-free users. This is a new application. And as Karina mentioned before, yeah, we already got some emails that there are some non-fatal issues that are happening just after the new release. And for example, we'll focus on the first one, this online room view page or something. And if I look into the details of this, I can already tell that there is some problem with calendar. And you will always have problems with calendars in applications. Different calendars, different time zones. Yeah, it's a never-ending story. But this exact example was that there was something not displaying correctly in our application. That's why it was not a fatal issue, because application was working. And the problem was that normally we are using a typical Gregorian calendar. And if you are, for example, in the Hindi or Arabic country, it will probably not work. So easy fix, I just have to write this culture info.invariant culture with that force the application to display the time in a typical normal manner despite where you are. Yeah, so very easy to find, very easy to fix, but you have to use Crashalytics. It's very flexible, very cool detailed reporting. And they also, with the newest version of Firebase, they support even very detailed C++ code from Unity. So because applications from Unity are compiled to C++ and then compiled to the native applications. And Firebase is also supporting that. So you can find a really detailed call stack of what happened. Next, app distribution. So yeah, as I said, I love automation. So this is our typical pipeline and what we are doing in our company. So there is this saying that every developer will rather spend 5 hours automating things than do it manually in 5 minutes. And that's true. So yeah, we have this whole functionality built over the Firebase, and you can see that this is one of our most crucial parts that we, after building things, we send them to Crashlytics and into the distribution. But why this feature is so powerful? Meet Bogdan. Bogdan is our motion designer, and currently he's living in Kiev. So it's like about 700 kilometers from here. And he is responsible for making ads and promotion materials for our application. And it's not easy for him to get the build, yeah, because you're not gonna go with a computer and cable and give him something. So Firebase allow you to actually distribute, and our testers also benefit from that. And what is so powerful about it is that you can do it directly from your phone. So he can just open the website, open app distribution, download the exact build that he's interested in, and at least make some raw data videos without even having a computer with him. Yeah, and right now there are some electricity problems, so that's a really powerful thing to do. Next one. Yeah, and this is a little bit bigger topic. This is one of the most powerful features of the Firebase, and it is because of that you can modify your application without actually deploying the new build, and you really, really want that. And because we are using Unity, first thing, a very easy example is to just do some conditional sending of the data. And because we are using Unity, some of the packages that we are creating, if you don't want to download the whole application, they have to be split per platform, because Unity cannot generate the universal packages of the data that you want to download to your application. So if you have iOS and Android and so on, it will probably generate different packages. And in Firebase, you can easily just tell that if it is an iOS platform, send different package. If Android, send different package, and so on and so on. So very easy to do. Very powerful thing. Next one. And this one is pretty neat one. It's even beyond typical conditionals, because it's using machine learning. Yeah? So this feature is called personalization. And what we are doing here is to see after what time we want to display an app rating to the user. And you can already see that if we will do it only after 15 minutes, we'll gather only the 15% of our users. Yeah? Most of the users want to see that rate pop up after 5 minutes, and the rest of them are pretty much don't care. And what was the result of this? Our rating just go brrr. So they just go into the roof. So yeah, using machine learning if in Firebase remote config is a really great thing, and you can also use that for A/B testing. Yeah, you can clearly see the results. Yeah, it's twice, even more. It's like very, very big increase. Okay, so another thing, another conditional example. It's not only about platform, but we can also set which version of the application should support something. Yeah? This is the introduction of this. So, for example, here we have some live ops data that we want to present to our users. And we want to present those data only for those users who have the version 2.4 and so on. And into addition to that, we can also modify how we want to display data for that live ops. So if they have newer application, they will probably have different content. If they have older application, they will also have some compatible content that can be displayed because something changed over the version. So Of course, here you can see that we are releasing new version of the application, but still, if we want to make some backward compatibility, we can do that through remote config. And now, analytics. So we are maintaining the application, released it, and now we want to do some analytics on all the data that we gather from our application. We did this cool feature. This is a new feature in our application. It's called Quick Tournament, Blitz Tournament. So the 8 of the players are playing 3 games. And how you can say if this is a good feature? Of course, through events data and through analytics. So yeah, you will simply create some events that will somehow describe the feature. And we can already tell that it is a really, really good and successful feature because, for example, despite 82% of the users lost, they will restart. And also, the user engagement is also high, and you can tell that the data are correct because win games versus lose game are pretty much the same. So no one is cheating. And yeah, you can also analyze those data through the 1 week and another, and so on and so on. And you can already see that those data are pretty much the same. So the feature is collecting more or less the same repeating data, so there is no discrepancy or there is no error in your data. Okay, now if we go from the different side and we won't spend some money and use user acquisition with Firebase, because Firebase also allow you to integrate other things, like for example Google Analytics. And if you integrate that, you will probably want to create, if someone is done user acquisition, he will probably want to spend some money to gather users through those events. So you will try to create campaigns, and what people do most of the time. And if they are a small company, they will try to go with a first open event, which is not so good because it has very low retention and pretty bad results from our experience. Then maybe you want to focus on in-app purchase because you want forced monetization of your app. But it's also a problem because this is a very, very costly event. Yeah, all big players do that. If they have a lot of money and you're just starting, you're gonna probably be eat alive. So what you can do, and what we are doing, is to also use machine learning into analytics. So we are creating some kind of the events that are in the application, and we are forcing machine learning to analyze those conditional events and create, for the sake of the presentation, let's say this is a special good user event that if will be triggered, will fit the campaign. And the power of this is that you don't have to think about it. It's all done through machine learning, and you can just create those conditionals that will create this event. And from our perspective, this was the really big win, because we really increased the retention and lowered the cost of the bid. And last but not least, we want to somehow engage our users. So we can, for example, use cloud messaging. So simply speaking, those are push notifications. And what we do here, we are creating push notifications that are in the form of the chat. So this is a very safe form of user engagement. It's creating some kind of connection between the users. And it's very, very easy and fast to implement both on the server and the application side, because it's using a built-in feature that is called cloud messaging. Not much code that have to be written to actually use that. You are basically sending cloud function requests that's triggering the whole magic of the cloud messaging, and app is getting that back with the form of the push notification. So yeah, really neat feature, easy to implement, and also can help engage your users. And there are many, many more, but unfortunately, I think, yeah. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you for a great presentation. We have a few questions. Again, remember there is this slider where you can add some questions and vote on the previous ones. Okay, maybe starting from the last one. The price you showed for the Firebase, what monthly active users, number of events, users is that for? Yes, so it's like how big is your user base and
1, 2, 3. More or less, let's say it's hundreds of thousands, even millions of users. So yeah, it's a pretty big user base.
And what are your most often use cases for remote config? You mentioned quite a lot, but like
most often, yeah, I would say conditionals and personalization, because personalization is really powerful. Yeah, it's doing a lot. Yeah, it's helping you a lot with all the analytics and all the work that you have to do. Yeah, because it's done by the machine learning. So you're just defining things and fire and forget.
And the last, how do you use machine learning in Firebase? For example, you mentioned that in UA campaigns you create the events. So are you using maybe them in like machine learning, or like using that for user acquisition in some way?
This is really a good question, but I'm just a programmer, so I'm changing pizza and coffee into the code. But give it a hello, maybe. I will be more than happy to connect you with someone that can you explain more about that, because I'm not exactly the best person to speak about it.
Great. So please reach out to us, and then we're happy to talk about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you very much. Thank you.